KaraokeBooks.
Hadji Mourad. Leo Tolstoy. Translated by Louise Maude, Aylmer Maude. Audiobook. Chapter 14. On the 20th of December Vorontsov wrote to Chernyshev, the Minister of War. The letter was in French. I did not write to you by the last post, dear Prince, as I wished first to decide what we should do with Hadji Mourad, and for the last 2 or 3 days I have not been feeling quite well. In my last letter I informed you of Hadji Mourad's arrival here. He reached Tiflis on the 8th, and next day I made his acquaintance, and during the following 7 or 8 days have spoken to him and considered what use we can make of him in the future, and especially what we are to do with him at present, for he is much concerned about the fate of his family, and with every appearance of perfect frankness says that while they are in Shamil's hands he is paralyzed and cannot render us any service or show his gratitude for the friendly reception and forgiveness we have extended to him. His uncertainty about those dear to him makes him restless, and the persons I have appointed to live with him assure me that he does not sleep at night, eats hardly anything, prays continually, and asks only to be allowed to ride out accompanied by several Cossacks, the sole recreation and exercise possible for him and made necessary to him by lifelong habit. Every day he comes to me to know whether I have any news of his family, and to ask me to have all the prisoners in our hands collected and offered to Shamil in exchange for them. He would also give a little money. There are people who would let him have some for the purpose. He keeps repeating to me, "Save my family and then give me a chance to serve thee, preferably, in his opinion, on the Leskian line, and if within a month I do not render you great service, punish me as you think fit." I reply that to me all this appears very just, and that many among us would even not trust him so long as his family remain in the mountains and are not in our hands as hostages, and that I will do everything possible to collect the prisoners on our frontier, that I have no power under our laws to give him money for the ransom of his family in addition to the sum he may himself be able to raise, but that I may perhaps find some other means of helping him. After that I told him frankly that in my opinion Shamil would not in any case give up the family, and that Shamil might tell him so straight out and promise him a full pardon and his former posts, and might threaten if Hadji Mourad did not return, to kill his mother, his wives, and his 6 children. I asked him whether he could say frankly what he would do if he received such an announcement from Shamil. He lifted his eyes and arms to heaven, and said that everything is in God's hands, but that he would never surrender to his foe, for he is certain Shamil would not forgive him and he would therefore not have long to live. As to the destruction of his family, he did not think Shamil would act so rashly. Firstly, to avoid making him a yet more desperate and dangerous foe, and secondly, because there were many people, and even very influential people, in Dagestan, who would dissuade Shamil from such a course. Finally, he repeated several times that whatever God might decree for him in the future, he was at present interested in nothing but his family's ransom, and he implored me in God's name to help him and allow him to return to the neighborhood of the Chechnya, where he could, with the help and consent of our commanders, have some intercourse with his family and regular news of their condition and of the best means to liberate them. He said that many people, and even some nabs in that part of the enemy's territory, were more or less attached to him and that among the whole of the population already subjugated by Russia or neutral it would be easy with our help to establish relations very useful for the attainment of the aim which gives him no peace day or night, and the attainment of which would set him at ease and make it possible for him to act for our good and win our confidence. He asks to be sent back to Grozny with a convoy of 20 or 30 picked Cossacks who would serve him as a protection against foes and us as a guarantee of his good faith. You will understand, dear Prince, that I have been much perplexed by all this, for do what I will a great responsibility rests on me. It would be in the highest degree rash to trust him entirely, yet in order to deprive him of all means of escape we should have to lock him up, and in my opinion that would be both unjust and impolitic. A measure of that kind, the news of which would soon spread over the whole of Dagestan, would do us great harm by keeping back those who are now inclined more or less openly to oppose Shamil, and there are many such, and who are keenly watching to see how we treat the Imam's bravest and most adventurous officer now that he has found himself obliged to place himself in our hands. If we treat Hadji Mourad as a prisoner, all the good effect of the situation will be lost. Therefore I think that I could not act otherwise than as I have done, though at the same time I feel that I may be accused of having made a great mistake if Hadji Mourad should take it into his head to escape again. In the service, and especially in a complicated situation such as this, it is difficult, not to say impossible, to follow any one straight path without risking mistakes and without accepting responsibility. But once a path seems to be the right one, I must follow it, happen what may. I beg of you, dear Prince, to submit this to His Majesty the Emperor for his consideration, and I shall be happy if it pleases our most august monarch to approve my action. All that I have written above I have also written to Generals Zavadovsky and Kozlovsky, to guide the latter when communicating direct with Hadji Mourad, whom I have warned not to act or go anywhere without Kozlovsky's consent. I also told him that it would be all the better of us if he rode out with our convoy, as otherwise Shamil might spread a rumor that we were keeping him prisoner, but at the same time I made him promise never to go to Vozhedivizhinsk, because my son, to whom he first surrendered and whom he looks upon as his kunak, friend, is not the commander of that place, and some unpleasant misunderstanding might easily arise. In any case, Vozhedivizhinsk lies too near a thickly populated hostile settlement, which for the intercourse with his friends which he desires, Grozny is in all respects suitable. Besides the 20 chosen Cossacks who at his own request are to keep close to him, I am also sending Captain Loris Melikov, a worthy, excellent, and highly intelligent officer who speaks Tartar, and knows Hadji Mourad well and apparently enjoys his full confidence. During the 10 days that Hadji Mourad has spent here, he has, however, lived in the same house with Lieutenant Colonel Prince Tarhanov, who is in command of the Shoshin district and is here on business connected with the service. He is a truly worthy man whom I trust entirely. He also has won Hadji Mourad's confidence, and through him alone, as he speaks Tartar perfectly, we have discussed the most delicate and secret matters. I have consulted Tarhanov about Hadji Mourad, and he fully agrees with me that it was necessary either to act as I have done, or to put Hadji Mourad in prison and guard him in the strictest manner, for if we once treat him badly he will not be easy to hold, or else to remove him from the country altogether. But these two last measures would not only destroy all the advantage accruing to us from Hadji Mourad's quarrel with Shamil, but would inevitably check any growth of the present insubordination, and possible future revolt, of the people against Shamil's power. Prince Tarhanov tells me he himself has no doubt of Hadji Mourad's truthfulness, and that Hadji Mourad is convinced that Shamil will never forgive him but would have him executed in spite of any promise of forgiveness. The only thing Tarhanov has noticed in his intercourse with Hadji Mourad that might cause any anxiety, is his attachment to his religion. Tarhanov does not deny that Shamil might influence Hadji Mourad from that side. But as I have already said, he will never persuade Hadji Mourad that he will not take his life sooner or later should the latter return to him. This, dear Prince, is all I have to tell you about this episode in our affairs here.
KaraokeBooks.